What's up, guys? Welcome to the first ever episode 121 of the Kind of Funny Gamescast. As always, I'm Tim Gettys, joined by no halves of the coolest dudes in video games. Greg is off on a secret mission right now. It's not so much a secret. He's at Judges Week. We've been talking about this for a couple weeks now. He's playing all the E3 games before we get to go and play them because he has 1 million Twitter followers and he's fucking Greg Miller.
That's how it is.
So we're replacing him with Sean Finnegan. Sean the Shark Finnegan.
Chomp chomp.
Chomp chomp.
Is that a thing?
That's
yeah,
developed that.
Chomp, okay. I roll with that.
Thanks for having me. I'm really glad to be here. I think this is my first Gamescast.
It is.
Yes.
It actually is. This is not your first Gamescast. No. Alfredo Diaz, a.k.a. Alfredo Plays, a.k.a. Owl Up in That Ass. I say that one right now, but I'm into it. So obviously you guys are here, which means we're going to talk a little bit about Destiny. And we're going to get some Xbox in there, which is a little different for this show. Because, you know, usually us, we go, oh, Mr. Nintendo over here. And then Greg's like, oh, Sony. But it's just like, here we got Alfredo, like, oh, Xbox.
We're bringing in a little bit of the other juice.
I mean, lately, you've been more PC lately than anything, right?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. We'll definitely get into that. How you guys been?
Super good, man. It's been really busy as we ramp up to E3. We got Kind of Funny Live right around the corner. I don't have anything to do with that, but I'm very excited for y'all.
It's going to be good. It's going to be fun. And for those that don't know, Sean Finnegan from IGN. You can find him on Fireteam Chat, the Destiny podcast, the #1 Destiny podcast. I don't know that to be true.
Oh, Fireteam
Is that true?
Chat.
You know, it was at one point. I don't know if it is. I think we're going to call that, we'll have to call an audible on that one.
Well, call an audible. The #1, maybe 2 Destiny podcast.
It's up there.
And Alfredo, you can find you on Twitch. Alfredo Plays, YouTube,
I just
Twitter,
do the Twitch thing.
all that stuff.
Funnily enough, like, I co-host Fireteam Chat now with Destin and Fran and CJ Gibson, but this was a show that was founded by Alfredo Diaz.
Yeah, co-founded.
So you may know him from way back in the day.
Back in no.
I don't think you made those shirts back in the day. Yeah.
I left before the whole logo came in. Yeah, for sure.
Okay.
I was one of the few people that played Destiny in the vanilla times and was like, ooh, we should talk about this as a podcast. We're still playing this.
Yeah.
And they were like,
And then they added all that other shit, and here you go. Now there's #2.
Yeah.
Maybe. I mean, Destiny, the community, the game, it grew so much over time. I don't think anyone really had an expectation for it to become as big as it did. Yeah. So our show, your show, kind of grew with that. And here we are. We have a nice little niche and a great little community, and we do a weekly show. And it's a lot of fun for the players who still play that game.
Hell yeah. If you didn't know, this is the Kind of Funny Gamescast. Each and every week we get together and talk about video games and all the things you love about them. If you want to get it early, you can get it on patreon.com/kindoffunnygames. And if you want to get it late, guess what, Alfredo?
You have the opportunity to.
You do. You can go to youtube.com/kindoffunnygames. You want to get it on time? We haven't figured that part out yet, but hey, we're working on it.
But you've got some options.
You got some options.
Really
you got some fun options. Yeah. Let's get right into it. This episode, Patreon producer Tom Bach, shout out to you, the homie, the man, the myth, the legend. He's a great dude. Destiny 2. We finally got to see the gameplay reveal of it today. Huh? Hell yeah, man. What's up with Yoshi's Island? So we saw the Destiny 2 gameplay reveal. It was down in LA. We didn't get to go there ourselves. Greg Miller, because he's at Judges Week, he got to play it. You guys sent down Fran and CJ. The rest of the Fireteam Chat. Destin.
Yeah, Fran, CJ, Brian Malkowitz, and Destin are all down there, and they're being assisted by some of our LA team. It's a big thing for us.
Yeah.
Like you said, they finally took the top off. Like, we've known Destiny 2 was coming for a really long time. I don't think anyone had any hang-ups about it. It was more just like, okay, is it this year, 2017, or is it going to get pushed to 2018?
And that was a big thing where I feel like a lot of people were shocked that it was confirmed to be this year.
I was one of them. I many times on Fireteam Chat thought that a September or even holiday 2017 release felt super early to me because, you know, up until a couple of weeks ago when we got our first teaser trailer of Destiny 2 with the release date and that Activision's earning call where they said that the team at Bungie was on track to have a 2017 release, we were all still playing Rise of Iron, and it just seemed kind of outlandish that it would release this year.
Did you have faith?
I did. I mean, in terms of like Destiny, it just felt like the original Destiny didn't have much else going for it, and we already reached the point where they vamped the old raids. So I just felt like, okay, one, I knew they were already working on Destiny, 2, and in that case, I was like, I think with like Activision, they're going to be trying to push out that,
trying to get that holiday
sequel out
stuff
pretty
going
quick.
on.
Yeah,
especially with the holidays, that's lacking a Halo game.
Yep.
You know, to compete against. Not necessarily that they are in the same caliber, but with the history of Bungie and all that, like I'm sure that has something to do with it.
It's really important to note that Activision does see Destiny as one of their new core pillars of their business. Like they refer to it as part of their core business alongside Call of Duty, especially when considering the fact that this last year for Call of Duty 2016, you saw that game again. It was still the best selling game of the year, but the numbers came in a little bit lower than prior iterations. And I think they know that maybe that audience is feeling a little.
It's like COD fatigue.
Yeah, it's a little COD fatigue. We've gotten one every single year since 2007.
Yeah. And then you had Battlefield come out big dick swinging, taking it back. You know
Battlefield
what I mean?
1 was awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What you guys read on? Not to go on too much of a tangent, but what's the read on World War II?
I'm happy
in
to
general,
go back.
like the historical event. I guess it was great. I mean, we kind of glad we got involved. And
Are you stoked for COD?
I mean, honestly, I've said this multiple times. Like, I am a huge Modern Warfare 1 and 2 guy, and I literally haven't played I haven't played a Call of Duty game since those two. So, but I must have put, 500, 800 hours between the two of the first one, so I would call myself a big COD guy, but that was literally 10 years ago at this point. So, I think it's really interesting that two totally separate development teams came to the idea that, hey, we should go back to World War II independently of one another, and now they're both going back there, and that seems to have struck a chord with the audience.
Well, what do you mean both going back there? Who?
Like Battlefield 1 came...
with World War 1. You're just saying going back instead of going to the future.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, not even just Call of Duty having fatigue amongst its audience, but like I think gamers in general
pushing towards the future.
Yeah, there was like how many games in
Advanced
a row
Warfare.
did
Infinite Warfare.
I remember we used to make fun over at the office, like, Call of Duty's eventually going to be in space. That's going to be hilarious.
And then it
last
totally
year it was
was,
like, it's in space. We're like, oh shit, we've reached that point.
Those games always hit like a really cinematic, high polish, but I do think people were a little fatigued, and not just Call of Duty fans, but just general of future space shooters. And I think both companies kind of thought independently of one another, hey, maybe the next one should go back to World War I or World War II, and that'll be fresh. And lo and behold, it kind of feels that way.
Well,
for
I mean, during
the
their conference, it said a million times, like, boots on the ground.
Yeah.
And I think they understand that, like, people are just sick of, like, Call of Duty jetpacking around and everything, and they want a more grounded one. And that's what they're giving people.
So going back to Destiny, because I don't want to get too far away from all of this. So a couple of the big announcements. Crucible is now 4v4 for all modes. They're going to make trials, raids, and the Nightfall available to all players, which they're doing with a brand new system called Guided Games that will allow players to join up with clans, even if those players aren't really that great. So you can kind of be able to jump in and help people finish the raids and all that. The PC version of Destiny 2 will be on Blizzard's Battle.net rather than Steam or another platform.
Yes.
And although the console versions appear to run at 30 frames per second, Bungie has also confirmed that they cannot talk about Destiny 2 on the Xbox Scorpio until Microsoft's E3 press conference, so we're not sure about that. And Destiny 2 will have an uncapped frame rate on PC. Other PC things include 4K resolution support at 3820 by 2160, the uncapped frame rate, full mouse and keyboard support with custom key mapping, text chat, adjustable field of view, detailed PC setting screen, and 21.9 monitor support.
Which is basically like, this is how you expect PC games to run in the modern day.
Exactly, but a lot of times they don't. So it's...
No. And that's the one thing I wanted. I was like, all right, Bungie, you're going to come out and tell me there's going to be a PC version of Destiny 2. I was like, this has got to be a non-shitty, like, just whatever port that they toss in there, and they have to take their time with it. And I think there's rumors going around right now that the PC version might not come out at launch.
Day and date.
Yeah, and that's because they want it. They talked about how they just want it to be like the best possible, like a solid PC port, and I'm behind that. Like I don't want to have issues with like matchmaking with parties or just I remember, I think it was the latest Call of Duty when they did the remastered. I played it on PC, and it was like when you go to adjust like just in the menus, it was so limited. You're adjusting your menus from like 0 to 10 instead of like 1.0, 1.1 free sensitivity, and I was like, this is a totally terrible PC port.
Yeah.
I think port carries a kind of negative connotation in games. When you say like it's a ported version, it's like some other team took the game and just like recoded some stuff and put it on a new platform without giving it much thought. And I don't think that that's what the Bungie team is doing with this. And I think that might have some reason, it gives some credence to this rumor that it'll have a staggered release for PC, which is that they're really giving a ton of focus to the development and feature set that the PC version is going to have. Like you mentioned a bunch of the sort of core elements of what that PC version is going to have, but like I think they're really focused on making this the best possible experience for PC enthusiasts, because this is a game that should have and arguably was made for that platform in the first place.
Yeah, the fact that the FPS is uncapped, and then there's people taking screenshots from the event of like the setting, like the graphic settings and stuff, and seeing that you can go with pretty much standard stuff like foliage and motion blur and all that. You can adjust everything. I'm like, okay, they're really thinking about like what do the hardcore PC players want out of Destiny 2, and that's what they want, right? They want to be able to run that in 4K if their beast of a PC can run it. They want to be able to
ultra wide.
They want to be able to do all those different things. So.
It's going to be an interesting thing. I was in the control room producing the IGN presentation of Bungie's live stream, and James Duggan from IGN was doing graphics. He's a big PC guy for me, and the announcement that this PC version was not only real but happening and doing so in coordination with Blizzard was a huge thing for him. He was wigging out because this shows that Blizzard has a legacy of great competitive multiplayer games, and they have a platform and a system by which those games and communities can really expand, like we're talking about Battle.net here. To have a company like that come into the fold and say, hey, we support Destiny, and not just like tangentially like, hey, we can support this game, but we support it enough to bring it onto our own platform, something that has like a tried and true launcher with a great security feature set and activation stuff. Like,
I think the biggest thing is that like Blizzard doesn't fuck around when it comes to their anti-cheat system. Yeah. Like we've experienced that with like multiple games, and specifically Overwatch as of late. So I know a lot of people are like, well, or even the people that play PC games are like, hey, if you're gonna bring this over to the PC, like you have to have a really solid anti-cheat, because PC players will break the shit out of Destiny. Like they will. So the fact that it's on Battle.net, I don't know, I feel pretty secure about playing trials or maybe going for world's first during a raid, thinking like, all right, Blizzard's like anti-cheat client is behind, making sure this is a fair like game. So.
And then another announcement was that Bungie's saying Destiny 2 will launch with new strikes, PvP modes, and just one raid. You'll get 3 weapon slots that are more flexible than Destiny 1's, called Kinetic, Energy, and Power. It sounds like you'll be able to shuffle your weapons around and use the same types of weapons in multiple spots this time. What's that got to do for you guys?
I mean, that sounds like more awesome stuff to me, right? Yeah. Like one of the things that year one Destiny players like us kind of always thought would be cool when they expanded was like, we have primary, secondary, and special and sort of heavy weapons, and it would be cool to like, let's get a 4th weapon type in there, or like where the SMGs, where like we have machine guns and rocket launchers, and then there are some specialty weapons like Sleeper Simulant, which is a fusion rifle, which is normally a special weapon, but you use it as a heavy. There's kind of interesting weapon types like that, but we want, we saw rocket launchers, we saw little like pellet guns,
we saw SMGs.
Yeah, like it seems like a much more expansive arsenal, and for people like us and people who play Destiny a lot, like collecting these guns, trying them all out, figuring out which ones are the best, like that's the game. And so to see more of that in the game is just that's
what you want out of
Destiny. Yeah, right.
Like you want it to be a giant carrot at the end of that stick, you know what I mean? That you're just chasing
down.
Or
a million little carrots on a million little sticks. That's what it basically is, yeah.
Do you think launching with one raid is enough?
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah, because you got to remember,
it's huge.
There's also going to be like a brand new campaign, brand new cinematic campaign, and one of the other big features was they announced 4 new zones, 4 new major zones. Right, we have Titan, we have Nessus, we have Io, which are planetoids/planets or moons in our solar system, and then they announced the EDZ, which is the European Dead Zone, which is, according to their Vidoc,
twice as big
as any space that they've put in the game currently, and the spaces that are in the game currently are really, really big and beautiful, but they're not quite as explorable as we had hoped.
Yeah,
there was
you
this
kind of get
expectation
caught in this whole like traveling in a circle.
Yeah, like there was an expectation that it'd be open world, and it wasn't quite open world, and that was one of the complaints that was levied against the game at its launch that stands to this day. If the European Dead Zone is as big and explorable as they're making it seem like it is, this is going to be a huge amount of content, so many activities and quests and NPCs and enemies to go out and conquer. Between that and the campaign, campaign. Between that and the raid, I think one raid is enough, considering how complex and difficult the raids are.
Yeah, as long as you make the raid dynamic and replayable, you're gonna be totally fine with one raid at launch, to be honest. And it's not like we won't have another raid during whatever other expansion that we get. So like, eventually we'll see more raids and bigger opportunities, but to have one raid at launch is more than enough.
And they talked about it during the stream. Vault of Glass, the first raid that launched with Destiny 1, 50% of the player base got into the raid. I'll bet you even lower percentage finished the raid, and then I'll bet you subsequent raids for like in Dark Below and in Wrath of the Machine and in Taken King, King's Fall, I'll bet you even lower percentages completed those. So it's like they're introducing tools to kind of get players together to complete more of the raids, but I still think that like the answer isn't more raids because you're already not getting enough of your players in there.
I think, I mean, even right now, a big thing in like the Twitch Destiny directory is people just being a Sherpa towards like newbies, right? Whether it be Trials of Osiris or doing a raid. So just give them that system. You need to give people more reasons to stay in the game. You know what I mean? Like instead of going out to third-party sites to look for to LFG or to look at the lore, like put that into the game.
Oh man, I've been saying that for years. Like one of the reasons I loved kind of a related topic here, like people criticize Destiny 1 for not having a great story, and it doesn't in terms of the campaign, but there's a lot of really interesting characters and story elements that exist outside in the Grimoire.
Yeah.
The lore is amazing in that universe, but the problem is you have to go outside of the game and onto the internet, either via your phone or a laptop to read those Grimoire cards, and it's like, the reason I love Mass Effect was because it does that, but it's all in the codex. You could press start and just read it. Do that in Destiny. Why can't you do that?
And I probably will get this lore wrong because it's been a while since I've read it. But like the two big exotic, you know what I mean, like hand cannons. Like one was called the Last Word, the other one was called the Thorn. And like these were like everyone used these weapons. Everyone sought after these weapons. Like these were exotic like hand pistols, and they did great in like every aspect, like multiplayer and whatnot. And there's a whole lore behind it that like
no one knows.
The one killed the other or whatnot. I'm like, what? This is fucking awesome. Why is this not in the game? Why do I have to like learn about this 6 months down the line? No, it's in like a site somewhere else.
But the good thing is like, I think Bungie learned a lot of lessons from year one, and this is a franchise that they've planned to go on for 10 years, and I think like you're going to see a lot of evolution happen during that time.
I mean, we're way past year one at this point. So like, when Destiny first launched, I mean, it was kind of seen as a bad game. Like when it first launched,
it was bad.
But compared to Bungie's kind of,
people were expecting.
I mean, it was
next Halo.
All right, it was getting like 7s and 8s when everyone's like, "This needs to be a 9 and 10 game."
To be fair, 7s and 8s on the internet is like your thing is crap,
and that's
which is not true.
Bad's not the right word to use, but I think that it had a bad launch.
It definitely didn't live up to expectations.
Horrible word of mouth, and I'll never forget seeing you play it for the first time, and you just being like, oh, it's not Halo. And it was just like, oh, but you're like, you thought it was tight gameplay wise and you were into all that, but you just playing the game, you're like, oh man, like this is empty. Like there's not much here. And as they kept adding to it.
Grew out of that mindset and grew into the more, because like I've never personally experienced it, you know what I mean? Like, sure, you have like Borderlands where you have like the loot shooters and whatnot, but like a game where it's just like, well, you have raids? Like that's an experience I've never experienced on console before in my entire life. Like I never played WoW like my girlfriend Jackie did or anything like that. So for me, I was just like,
so many hours.
I was like, what is this whole like 6, you know me, and like Sean and I are like, we love competitive shooters. Like our main squeeze is being in that PvP arena. But like when they introduced the whole raid system, I was like, what is this PvE?
Oh, it's awesome,
like, what is this? And I was all about it.
Challenging PvE content in Destiny is amazing.
So over the last 2 years, they've kind of fleshed out the Destiny experience with all the expansions and all that. And overall, like people seem to really like it. And it's kind of the opposite reaction of vanilla, where people are like, oh shit, Destiny is really good. And the more people put into it, the more that they get out of it.
Yeah.
And with Destiny 2 launching, do you think that it's going to be not only a great jumping on point for new people, but do you think that they have learned enough that it's going to launch and be awesome?
Yeah, I believe so.
I mean, I have full faith in Bungie that, like, I mean, it's hard to say, right? I think that Bungie's learned a lot from the prior years of Destiny. But the jaded gamer in me is like, well, you don't learn everything, and sometimes things go wrong. And who knows if they're up against the clock when it comes to the development cycle. Again, it still seems soon that they'd be launching this September. But like, I have full confidence in them. Like, the game is great now. They know what the strengths and the weaknesses of Destiny 1 were before. So if all goes to plan, they should be able to execute in a way that Destiny 2 comes out with a big bang and continues to like move that momentum into the future.
My thing is that I fully believe that it's going to come out. Like, Destiny 2 is going to come out. It's going to be a great game. I just don't know how great it's going to be, because as much as I get hyped about like anything new content in terms of Destiny, I always think back to myself, like, Bungie's really good about getting really excited about content. Like, did we forget about Crota and how lackluster that was?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, they've launched expansions. Granted, it's gotten better over time, but they have launched expansions that just seemed like the most awesome thing in the world that were completely just empty and lackluster.
And a lot of people, a lot of gamers who were burned by Destiny 1 will point to the original gameplay reveal when they showed this big open world on Earth, and they were like, drop in, drop out co-op. That mountain over there, yeah, you can drive to it. And like, they said that on stream, and that is not at all in the game. And so people rightfully felt burned by that, but I think Bungie has learned to control the expectations, because now they know the type of fan base they're dealing with and how rabid we are, in order to not make mistakes like that, not promise things that may not come to fruition.
Hey, what's up? Hope you enjoyed that. If you did, you can click right there to subscribe to Kinda Funny Games. If you want some stuff that's not video game related, bam, click over there, subscribe to Kinda Funny. If you want to support us monetarily, I'd appreciate it. Click right there. And click right here for some fun Kevin nudes. Maybe.